أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Verse number 35 of Surah Al Imran. إذ قالت امرأة عمران رب إني نذرت لك ما في بطني محررا فتقبل مني إنك أنت السميع العليم. When the wife of Imran said, My Lord, I dedicated to you what is in my belly in consecration. Accept it from me. Indeed, you are the all-hearing, the all-knowing. If you remember, just in two verses before this, we had the idea of istifa, of Adam and Nuh and Al Ibrahim and Al Imran. Now, why Al Imran was singled out from Al Ibrahim and specifically was mentioned? Because Allah now wants to recount the story of Al Imran, who, of course, were the family of Jesus, peace be on him, and this is in conversation with the Christians of Najran. So when the wife of Imran, they say that the name of wife of Imran was Hannah or Anna, and she had a sister whose name was Isha or Elisha or Elizabeth, Elisabeth or Elizabeth. Well, it's well known in Christian literature as Elizabeth. Now, these two sisters were married to two prophets. One was Imran, who had passed away by this time when Allah is actually giving us the story of wife of Imran. Imran has passed away. And then the other sister had married to Zachariah. And we know that Zachariah later on became father of Yahya or John. And the daughter of Hannah, Maryam, she gave birth to Jesus. So here we know that wife of Imran and wife of Zachariah were sisters. Imran and Zachariah were brothers-in-law. And wife of Imran gave birth to Maryam. Wife of Zachariah gave birth to John, Yahya, of course, long time later when Jesus was born from Mary. Okay. إذ قالت امرأة عمران رب إني نذرت لك ما في بطني محررا. My Lord, I dedicated to you what is in my womb, what is in my belly, in consecration. Now, the term she uses here denotes that she is on the assumption that what she is carrying is a boy. Because it says, إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لَكَ مَا فِي بَطْنِي مُحَرَّرًا, not مُحَرَّرَةً. Muharrara means, of course, consecrated, free from any obligation, just freed for your service. And some say that this was a custom, that sometimes the parents freed their child from every obligation and let him just to focus on worship, or if, of course, in younger ages, they send them to the to Kanisa or to the temple to do just small chores in the temple as a service of the temple. And this was only for boys, not for girls, of course. Boys were sent there. They remained there until they came to the age of maturity, to the age when they could decide for themselves, and then decided what to do, whether to leave the temple or stay there and become a priest or a rabbi or something like that. However, this seems a bit uncomfortable I mean, the idea of sending a child to the temple right from the beginning and forcing them actually to serve in the temple may seem a bit uncomfortable. Another meaning of muharrara is that I free him, because she was thinking it was a son, I free him and dedicate him to your service, send him, just like us, for example, we say, I send this son of mine to Hosea to study religion. I dedicate him purely, that means I will provide for him, I will serve him so that he could purely and fully concentrate on learning and teaching. So we have two meanings here, and the word of the commentators differ here. For example, some say muharrara means that yakhdam fi muta'abbadatna. So he would serve in wherever there is a place of worship. Or I free him for worship completely, muharraran lil ibadah. Which of course, that doesn't make sense as well, because ibadah is not something that you can just dedicate someone to. Maybe if we do not accept that concept of sending him to the temple, which they say it was a common practice. We have in our narration that this was a common practice. They used to send sons, boys to the temple for service. And this was something which was seen as a sort of devotional act. And also in the Bible of infancy, which is one of the apocryphal, in the Gospel of infancy, one of the apocryphal Gospels, they regarded it apocryphal, almost the same story as we have in the Quran has come, and they said that Maryam was admitted to the temple at a very young age. Anyhow, this is the meaning of muharrara. So I was saying that she was of the assumption that she will give birth to a boy, and the boy will be completely dedicated for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, send him to the temple, if we accept that account, to serve there until the age of maturity. And then he could decide for himself whether he wants to stay. And usually these boys stayed, became rabbis and things like that. So, إِنِّي نَظَرْتُ لَكَ مَا فِي بَطْنِي. The second thing, which of course supports the idea of her assumption that she was going to give birth to a son, was that I make a vow, I pledge, I make a pledge here that I send her to the temple. And this nazar was only practiced about boys, not about girls. Why was she of the assumption that she was going to give birth to a son? Is because Allah had revealed to Imran, and Imran had revealed to his wife before his death that God is going to give us a son. And of course, God had not clarified whether it's an immediate son or a grandson or what. So he was of the assumption that it is an immediate son, while it wasn't. So the assumption she had was that Imran had said, God has promised me he will give me a son who will revive the dead, who will cure the diseased, and do all those miracles. So because Imran had actually, first of all, she was in an old age, and she was barren. She couldn't give birth to a child. And since Allah had blessed him with such a thing, and since Imran had told her, had blessed her with such a, and Imran had told her that you are going to be given, we are going to be given a son with those blessings. So she made that nadhr, إني نذرت لك ما في بطني محررة فتقبل مني. So you accept from me. تقبل مني, of course, it means that I may not be that pure, that this is a sign of humbleness, isn't it? I may not be that pure to deserve your acceptance, but you accept from me. إنك أنت السميع العليم. You hear what I say, and Alim, you know what is in my heart. You know the amount of sincerity that which goes with this nadhr. Of course, that is something that is taken for granted. That the amount of sincerity which went with that nadhr certainly was great. So, after making this pledge, this nadhr, okay, time passed, and she gave birth. Verse number 36. فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّ إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى. And to her surprise, when she gave birth, she said, my Lord, I have born a female. It means, what about my nadhr? What about what Imran said? And certainly, of course, she realized that maybe this was not going to come through this immediate birth. Maybe it would come through this girl, the pledge that Allah, the promise that Allah had given to Imran will come through in children of this female, this girl. So, but that was not a point of concern. The point of concern was about the nadhr that she had made. They did not let girls into the temple. So فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّ إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى. It's just somehow seeking pardon from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I made this nadhr, I made this vow, but now it is something which is out of my hand. What can I do? Now, there is a sort of interjection by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here. Something in bracket. This is what Allah says. Because the story is just given to us from the mouth of Hannah. However, in the middle, Allah is saying something. Wallahu a'lamu bima wada'at. Or read it like this. Wallahu a'lamu bima wada'at. No one knows what she had given birth to except Allah. If we say Allah knows better what she had given birth to, well, that's of course, that's obvious. Allah knows better everything. But if we say Wallahu a'lamu, only Allah knows what she gave birth to. Only Allah knows the position of that girl, the position of Maryam. As later on we will see what happens to Maryam, how she grows, how she communicates with angels. No one knows what she gave birth to. And this was a prelude to the birth of Jesus, peace be on her. There is this hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, reported in Sunni Shi'i books and in different expressions, but here there's an expression in Tafsir of Tha'labi. It says, قال حسبك من نساء العالمين أربعة. This is from Abu Hurairah, from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. حسبك من النساء العالمين أربعة. 4 of the women in the whole world are enough for you to revere. This is the meaning of hasbuk. Well, we don't know whether this is addressed to Fatima or someone else, or hasbuki or hasbuka. Maryam bint Imran, wa Asiya bint Muzahim, Imra'atu Fir'aun, Asiya, wife of Fir'aun, wa Khadija bint Khuwaylid, Khadija, of course, wife of the Prophet, who was one of the Siddiqat, and Fatima bint Muhammad. None other woman is mentioned here, because no other woman can reach this status of these 4 And as I said, this has been mentioned in many, many different narrations. And the position of Maryam is very, very clear in the hadith of the Prophet. So, Wallahu a'lamu bima wada'at. Allah only knows what she gave birth to. وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. Al-Dhakar, of course, is male, al-Untha, female. Now here commentators have tried to make sense of what does that mean. لَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. The male is not like female, and they have gone into details about the difference between male and female, but this doesn't want to say that. This al in dhakar, al in untha, is for ahd. That means is referring us to something that we already know or we are already talking about. We are talking about Maryam being a female, and we are talking about a son being a male who was expected because of the prophecy of Imran alayhi salam. So this al-dhakar means that male, and al-untha means that female or this female. So لَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. As I said, this is just in brackets by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only Allah knows what she gave birth to in terms of her qualities, her position among human race, her loftiness in spirituality. Only Allah knows that. And the male that you were expecting would have never been like this female. Apparently, Jesus needed a mother purer than Hannah. Well, Hannah was very pure. Hannah was wife of Imran, the prophet. Hannah gave birth to Maryam. Hannah devoted her child to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Jesus needed a mother purer than that. And that's why it didn't get as an immediate child, as an immediate son of Hannah. It came as a son of Maryam, who Allah purified fully and completely. So this لَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى here means that female, that male that you were expecting would never have been like this female. This female is in her qualities. This is the only female who can give birth to Jesus. So, okay, after this sentence in bracket, فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّ إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى. She said, my Lord, I have born her as a female. That's Allah says God knows better what she had born, and the female is not like the male. That female, this female, is not like that male that you were expecting. But here, despite the fact that she was a girl, and she knew that it is almost impossible to have her admitted into the temple later on for service, still she said, in hope or in fulfillment of her nazar, وَأَنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا مَرْيَمَ. I name her Maryam. Maryam means servant. Of course, servant of God. Or another meaning, Maryam means Abida. The one who, she who worships. Abida, she who worships. So, إِنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا Maryam means that despite being a girl, I want her to be dedicated to you, either in service in temple or as an abida, as a worshipper of you. And maybe this may actually support the idea that that nadhr was about just dedicating fully someone for the religion of God. learning, teaching, and everything else. I don't want any service from them. I don't want anything that they should give me back. I only want them to give back your blessings, some of your blessings, to the people. So وَإِنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا Maryam. Now, if I have called her Maryam, then she should be very pure. I will try my best to teach her. If they admit her to the temple, of course the rabbis would try their best, but still, it is you who have to save her. And the one son that she is going to give birth to. Why? Because Imran had told her that that son will come. Allah will give us that son. Now, Hannah realizes that the son should come from this girl, either immediately or even with some mediation later on. So, I commend her and her offspring, وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا, to your care, against the outcast shaitan. إِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا. First of all, I want you to protect her. You know, this is something which is out of our hands at certain stage. We know many children who go against their parents in their way. Especially we know children coming from very, very holy families, which eventually end up in disbelief. We have this in family of prophets. We have this in family of imams. So if that is the case, it's not all in my hand. I do my best, but it is you who have to save her. وَإِيذُهَا بِكَ. I commend her and her offspring. وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. That means that even Hannah knows that this girl and later on her offspring must be very pure, must be free from any deviation, any deception of shaitan. So I commend her to your care, to your protection against shaitan al-rajim. Rajim is outcast, driven away, because shaitan was driven away from the vicinity of God, from where he was stationed in the realm of angels. That's why he was rajim, outcast, driven away. And shaitan, of course, may not be only Iblis. Shaitan is actually an attribute which could be given to a man and to a jinn. Could be given to Iblis and could be given to other creatures. Like for example, وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا, at the beginning of Surah Baqarah, وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ. When they see the believers, they say we believe, but when they privately meet their shayateen, now these shayateen were not jinn, of course, they were human beings. Mushrikun of Mecca or some of the Jews in Medina, these are Allah called shayateen. Now here, of course, shaitan al-rajim usually refers to Iblis, because he is the one who was driven away, expelled from that high, lofty position. However, shaitan itself can be an attribute of anyone. So, فَلَمَّا وَضَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّ إِنِّي وَضَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا وَضَعَتْ وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى وَإِنِّي سَمَّيْتُهَا مَرْيَمَ وَإِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. Now the next verse says, فَتَقَبَّلَهَا رَبُّهَا بِقَبُولٍ حَسَنٍ وَأَنْبَتَهَا نَبَاتًا حَسَنًا. Thereupon her Lord accepted her with a gracious acceptance, not just accepting her in an ordinary way, قبول حسن, And this doesn't mean that Allah accepted her nadhr. No. Her nadhr, of course, was rewarded. Nothing is said here about acceptance of the nadhr or the reward of that. No. Allah accepted Maryam as the khadim, as the abida, accepted Maryam. فَتَقَبَّلَهَا. If it was for the nadhr of Hannah, it should have been said فَتَقَبَّلَ رَبُّهَا نَذْرَهَا. فَتَقَبَّلَ نَذْرَهَا. Allah accepted her nadhr and rewarded her. No. Allah accepted Maryam. It means that Allah accepted that she should be a muharrara, freed from every obligation but the obligation of service of God. And this is the meaning of istifa that we read in a couple of verses ago. Inna Allah astafa Adam wa Nuhan wa ala Ibrahim. And actually Allah had accepted their submission. That's the meaning of istifa. And later on we read that Allah إذ قالت الملائكة يا مريم إن الله اصطفاك. The same thing as was said about Adam and Nuh and Ibrahim and Al Imran. Allah has chosen you. اصطفاك وطهرك اصطفاك وطهرك واصطفاك على نساء العالمين. We'll discuss that later on. So فتقبلها ربها بقبول حسن. A gracious acceptance beyond what Hannah, her mother, was even could imagine. The way she was blessed by Allah in her heart, the way she was guided by angels, the way Shaitan was kept away from her. All these actually explain this Qabulun Hasan, a gracious acceptance. وَأَنْبَتَهَا نَبَاتًا حَسَنًا, and made her grow up in a worthy fashion. Now, what is worthy fashion? Nabatan hasana. Worthy fashion doesn't mean that, of course, Allah gave her good food, wealth, comfort, all amenities that children have. No. This is because this is a different caliber of individual, different caliber of girl. So these are not the things that Allah gives her, or Allah actually makes her grow with these things. That growth was with spiritual blessing, was with, as I said, with guidance, with special care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also with care of Zakaria that is mentioned later on. So فَتَقَبَّلَهَا رَبُّهَا بِقَبُولٍ حَسَنٍ وَأَنْبَتَهَا نَبَاتًا حَسَنًا. Now, Nabatan Hasan is that Hayatul Tayyiba that Allah gives to some people. Hayatul Tayyiba is when you are completely, absolutely, wholeheartedly directed towards the other life. Not caring about this life. Not that you do not live in this world, not that you do not need provision, not that you do not have a business or anything like that, but your heart is not here. Your heart is somewhere else. And that's why dunya is very small for you, negligible, insignificant. You do not quarrel with anyone about it. You put Allah always before. This is al-hayatul tayyiba. And this is what was given. وَأَنْبَتَهَا نَبَاتًا حَسَنًا وَكَفَّلَهَا Zakaria. And he made Zakaria to be a kafil of her. Charged Zakaria with her care. And this was another blessing, because Zakaria was one of the purest prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, all prophets are pure, but the way we read his story in the Quran, and the way Surah Maryam begins as Dhikru Rahmat Rabbika Abdahu Zakaria, the Rahmah that he gave to Zakaria. This Zakaria was charged with the care of Maryam. Another blessing for Maryam. And of course, this means that this may allude to the fact that eventually she was admitted to the temple and she went under the care of Zakaria. And because she was the child of Imran, and Imran was the leader of rabbis in his life, and they knew his position and they knew what he had said about this child, so everyone competed, vied to get the care, to put Maryam under his own care. وَمَا كُنْتَ لَدَيْهِمْ إِذْ يُلْقُونَ أَقْلَامَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ يَكْفُلُ مَرْيَمَ وَمَا كُنْتَ لَدَيْهِمْ إِذْ يَخْتَصِمُونَ. You were not there when they were drawing lots to see who should be in charge of Maryam's care, and you were not there when they were arguing and disputing with each other. But Allah knew who should be in charge. Then, after she grows, of course, there's a jump in time here. After she grows, after she's admitted to the temple, after she is given a special room in the temple, according to that account, to worship day and night, then, of course, something very strange happens. كُلَّمَا دَخَلَ عَلَيْهَا زَكَرِيَّا الْمِحْرَابَ وَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا رِزْقًا. Inshallah, we will discuss this in our next session. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Thank you very much, Sheikh, for that very, very interesting session. I think Sheikh has joined us. Yep, Sheikh has joined us. So inshallah, we have some time for some question and answers. If anyone has any questions, please just let me know, and I will inshallah allow you to ask the question. So Sabah, would you like to begin?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, and salam to everyone. Good morning.
Good morning, alaikum. How are you doing, Sheikh? Barakallah. And thank you very much for these valuable lectures, really. And
thank you so much.
These are the things that keep us going, despite the distance that we're that far away. Barakallah fi. Jazakallah alif khair. Sheikh, my first question is, what is the message behind God, Allah, delivering a lady in that manner? I understand that the message of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he came to a type of people who did not know, they had a lot of bad habits, and they did not operate the society in the manner that humanity would command. So what is the message of Allah for delivering a lady, a woman, a blessed woman, as opposed to a man? And what is the message behind it, if you don't mind? That's question number one. I've got question number two afterward, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yes. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, the message is that, first of all, there's no difference between men and women in their spiritual journey and in their spiritual blessings that they receive from the Lord. And secondly, anyone at any time that purifies the heart, that purification is a means of connection with God, is the means of bringing down the blessings of the Lord. I think these two messages are very important. One, there is no difference between male and female in this respect. And secondly, the blessings of the Lord comes upon us as soon as we purify our hearts and purify our intention. We do things sincerely for Him.
Barakallah. Sheikh, the second question, if you don't mind. The start of Christianity and Nabi Allah Isa came about because of obviously the Jews, as we know from the history, did not obey messenger Musa alayhi salam. I understand that, but is there any other reason or change of direction in life, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to guide us in a different manner, and hence the religion of Christianity came about?
Well, you know, the point is, the Quran tells us that the most perfect religion is the religion of Abraham, Islam, and Nadin and Allah al-Islam. And the prophets who came after Abraham followed him and preached Islam, that religion which was given to Abraham, or that Abraham named it Islam. Of course, it was the only religion, primordial religion, but Abraham was tested so severely so that he would purify that faith, giving the sort of merging of human capability into the rulings of that religion. I don't mean rituals, of course, rulings in terms of sincerity, purity, connection with God. And then the prophets who came after him preached that. So Moses was preaching, received the book, Torah, but it was actually according to the faith of Abraham. Jesus came to rectify the wrongs which had gone into the community, in the community of Banu Israel. They had departed from that faith. Our prophets obviously was not a Jew or a Christian. He was not following any of these books, as the Quran says that I have guided you to the religion of Abraham. ثم أوحينا إليك أن اتبع ملة إبراهيم حنيفا. So the prophet didn't need Torah or Injil for guidance, because Allah had directly guided him to the religion of Abraham. And the Quran was another version of the same book which was sent down. So what we can gather from all these is that as soon as a religion is deviated from that religion of Abraham, I mean the Abrahamic religions, then Allah sent a prophet to guide them back to that path. And certainly what Allah gave to Prophet of Islam as the Quran is the intact version, if we understand it well, an intact version of that religion of Abraham.
Thank you.
Murtza?
You are mute. You are mute.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Bahmanpour.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Hassan, nice to see you. I'm coming back to the same verse. وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى.
Yes.
That male is not the same as female. The very fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this particular statement, and I thought it was must be a very, very important statement. Is this not an affirmation or a declaration by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about the daraja of a woman being higher than the man?
Well, we cannot say the daraja of a woman is higher than a man, or a man is higher than a woman. But since we are here talking about Maryam, as they were expecting a son, and then the child was a girl, she gave birth to a daughter, she was surprised, as I said. And Allah says that that boy that you were expecting, that you were thinking you will have, never is like this female. لَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. Because when we say لَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى, male is not like female, we are not giving darajat. It's just an obvious statement. If we just put it as a general statement, it's very obvious. Of course, why Allah should say such a thing. Male is not like female. You may say, yes, I mean, I see what you mean. You mean that you are expecting a son, but male is never like a female, so female is given a daraja over male. But I don't think in the Quran we have such a thing as giving daraja to for males over female, female over male. It's just in a particular case, this female is much higher than the male that you were expecting. That's what I think.
Because the birth of Jesus, Nabi Isa himself, is a result of the purer conception by a woman. And that is Maryam. This is why I felt this probably could be the reason. Otherwise, it's so obvious that male is not the same as female, or female is not the same as male. You see.
Yes.
And the other question that I wanted to ask you, Sheikh, is the naming of Maryam. Was it an inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or is this the first name that has been named as Maryam?
I don't think so, but it may have been an inspiration by Allah that now that you have a female and you can actually offer that to me, you can name her as a servant or as an abida. It may have been an inspiration by God, but I don't think it was the first name used in Hebrew, Maryam. Yeah.
Awesome.
Because we have also the sister of Musa was called Maryam as well, isn't it?
Oh, I see.
So
I see.
Maryam
That's good information, Hassan. Yes. Hassan.
Thank you very much. So Sheikh, just returning to this, the way that Maryam is described is very similar to the way that other prophets are described. So could Maryam herself be considered a prophet, or is that not something that any of the Mufassirs have done?
Well, some of the mutakallimun and commentators have actually mentioned that. Like, for example, Ibn Haz mentions that Maryam was a prophetess. And the reason for that is that no one except prophets or prophetess can see the angels. And because Maryam was seeing the angels, so she was a prophet. But the Quran never uses that term for her. The Quran says she was a Siddiqa. Isn't it? ما المسيح ابن مريم إلا رسول قد خلت من قبله الرسل وأمه صديقة. Mother of Jesus was a Siddiqa. And Siddiqa, we know, is a different category of muqarrabun. As is mentioned in Surah An-Nisa, وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ. So Siddiqeen are different from Anbiya and Nabi. It's for this reason that we do not regard Maryam as a prophetess, but as a Siddiqa, just like Fatima to Zahra was a Siddiqa. However, it doesn't mean that her position could not have been above some of the prophets, as she was a very, very chosen, the cream of Siddiqat till her time. As the Prophet says, she was the Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alameen of her time. And this view of Ibn Hazm has not been accepted by other Sunni and Shia commentators or theologians. So this is a very, very rare view in our theology.
Thank you very much. Do we have any further questions? Yes, Manzoor uncle.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I wanted to ask, you mentioned about, in reply to Brother Murtaza's question, about the darajat of male and female. When the Prophet was asked about the daraja of the mother and the father, he emphasized mother's role 3 times repeatedly. So is this pertaining only to the motherhood, or it is male and female also issue comes in this answer?
Well, I think it's because of motherhood. The respect that we have to pay to our mother, of course, we would not pay to any other woman. And sometimes both male and female, because of different roles or different positions that they gain, they find, of course, importance. Like, for example, we have Al-Jannatu tahta aqdam al-ummahat. Paradise is under the feet of mothers. And this is here, the motherhood is what is important. So I don't think we need to give this daraja, because if we want to do that, then we have this verse in the Quran, وَلِلرِّجَالَ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةٌ, and men have a daraja over women. But that is, of course, in terms of wife and husband, not men and women. So I think when it comes to men and women, we regard them equal. When it comes to their positions like motherhood, fatherhood, wife, husband, these things, then of course they will have different statuses.
Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? I think that is all of the questions for today. Thank you very much, Sheikh.
Okay. Thank you. And inshallah, I will see you next week. I don't know, next week is Christmas or it's not
next
yet.
week is, I think 27th will be next Sunday.
Okay.
So it'll be just after Christmas.
Okay. So wish you a happy Christmas then and good holidays, inshallah.
Thank you very much. Just before we end, a very, very quick announcement. So our Friday programs are on hold at the moment, but we will, inshallah, be having a conference next Sunday as well. The conference will be at 12:15, and it will be looking at the late Ayatollah Sanai, his work and his impact on Islamic law. There's more information on our website, so please do have a look and do try and join us for the conference. Thank you very much.
So do we have our session next week?
Yes. Our session will be before the conference.
Okay, inshallah. All right, very good. See you next week. Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz.